So before we start the class, let us all take the blessings of the beautiful deities of ISKCON Mangaluru, Sri Sri Radha Govinda Ji ki Jai. Is everybody able to see my screen, Mataji's?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Yes,
Mataji.
yes, Mataji.
Hari Bol. Thank you so much, Mataji's. So let's start with, I think we finished 46 or 47, I think. 47 we have to start, I think. Yeah, we finished this. I think we spoke about the small well and the reservoir, how by just serving Krishna, all the purposes can be satisfied. You don't have to individually serve others. Okay, like you don't have to depend, like serve the demigods because they're providing us all this air, light, heat, sun, moon. We don't have to separately do all that. So if we just serve Krishna, do devotional service to Krishna, everything is taken care of. Like how the all the I mean like how a small well. I mean it is just used. I mean like how for how many things can you use a small well? But if there's a great reservoir, you can do all your things at one place. Okay, so that is the comparison. So we saw that in the last class. Now in continuation, Krishna is further telling. So this is also an important shloka here. Karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phala hetur bhur ma te sango astu akarmani. So, translation by Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. You have a right to perform your prescribed duty, but you are not entitled to the fruits of action. Never consider yourself the cause of the results of your activities and never be attached to not doing your duty. Okay, so this is a very important shloka. So actually, we hear people say work is worship. Okay, just do your work without any expectation of result. Okay, this is correct. So this is the first two lines only. Many people know this concept. Okay, we know that you have to do your work without any expectation of result, but they don't know the next two lines. Okay, so what the next two lines say? You should never think you are the cause of the results of your activities. Okay, so some people, they think I have worked hard. That is why I could achieve it. That is why I have become successful. That we keep hearing these words, right? Because I struggled, I worked hard. That is why I'm in this position. That is why I succeeded. That is why I could bring up this company so well. That is why I have got so much profit. We keep hearing all these words. Okay, right. Yes, you worked hard for it, but you are not the only reason for that. Okay, such kind of people, they always rely on their strength. They don't recognize God. Okay, but sometimes the same person, he works hard, but he doesn't get success. Then what happened to his logic? Where did his philosophy go? He's saying that if I worked hard, that's why I got success. But sometimes it's not always if he works hard, he gets success. Sometimes he gets failure. So then where is the logic gone that time? Okay. So many people say, we hear people saying, I am doing my duty. If I do my duty, that is worship. Work is worship. But that is wrong. So you have to understand you are not the doer. This Krishna is telling to Arjuna. So that is why you should not consider the result of your activity. See, because you are not the only doer. When you are doing something in this material world, you are not the only person that is doing that work. There are 5 other reasons. All of you attended L1 class, right? In that, they tell you 5 other reasons along with you who are the other 5 doers. Okay, but for now, out of the 5, we'll see what is the main reason. That is the main cause is God. We need God's permission. See, even a blade of grass cannot move without the permission of the Lord. What about our activities? Right? See, without God's sanction, nothing can be done. So that is the main cause. We need God's permission first. Okay. So here Arjuna is asking, you are telling me leave the fruits of action. Then if you are asking me to leave the fruits of action, then why should I work? See, generally in this material world, we do everything with the expectation of something. Like we study so that we can come first in class or we get nice marks. Some expectation for everything we expect. But now here in Nishkama Karma Yoga, Krishna is saying, you just do your duty. Don't expect the results. Whatever be the result, leave it. Leave it to me. You don't expect that I will get this or get that. Now Arjuna is asking, when there is no result, no expectation, then why should I work? What is the use of my work, doing the duty when there is no expectation? I don't want result. So if I don't want the result, I will not work. So it's not. So Krishna is saying it's not like that. You have to do your dharma. You can't escape your duty or responsibility. Just because there is no expectation, you cannot give up your duty or responsibility. You have to do your dharma. You have to do your duty. So, if you do your duty, then you won't be bound by karma. That is what Krishna is telling. As a Kshatriya, your duty is to fight. If you don't do that, then you'll be bound by karma. Then sin will come. Because you're a Kshatriya, your duty is to fight. So you fight, just fight. That's it. Okay, don't go back from your duty. Okay, otherwise, if you don't do your duty, then you will be bound by karma. Because you're not doing your karma, then you will get sin. Okay, so the only problem we get is in this material world, we are attached when we are attached to the result. Okay, then we get bound by karma. Right, because when we do some activity, you either get a bad or good reaction when you do it for yourself, right? You do it with expectation of either it is a good cause or a bad cause. But if you just do it for Krishna, now here Arjuna actually doesn't like to fight. But in the end, we'll see, even though Arjuna doesn't like to fight, he fights. Why? To please Krishna. Without any expectation, he just fights for the sake of Krishna, to please Krishna. So that is how we should do our duty, to please Krishna. So we, as suppose we are grihastas, as grihastas, we have some responsibilities, duties to raise our children, to make them study, to give nice prasadam. To give inculcate good samskaras in the children. So teach, make them practice Krishna consciousness. All this. So as a responsibility, later we don't know whether our children will come up in Krishna consciousness. They will come up with the good samskaras. That is not to us. We have to give our 100%. That is our duty. We have to see that we have done our duty to our 100% or not. That is important. Don't get worried. Oh, my child, I have put so much effort for him to come into Krishna consciousness. Still, he didn't come. He's going into all bad ways, bad friends. Don't worry about that. That's what Krishna is saying. You leave that to me. You do your duty. That's all. That is the problem right here. Arjuna, he is not thinking about the war. He is thinking about the outcome of the war. If I fight, my relatives, they will die. That's what Krishna is saying. You don't worry about the result. I will take care of that. You worry just about your duty. As a Kshatriya, your duty is to fight. You just do that. Don't think about the result. Because you're thinking about the result, you are not able to fight. So you just do your duty or responsibility. So similarly with us also. So we should just do our duty or responsibility and leave the rest to Krishna without any expectation. So this is the secret. So if you are desiring something to enjoy that, if you're desiring something to enjoy that, you may have to take birth again, right? See, desires are the main cause that will cause you to take birth again and again. See, if you have no desires, what is the reason for you to take birth? Nothing, right? So if you have desires, and sometimes it is not necessary that all our desires are fulfilled in this janma only, right? If a desire has to be fulfilled, we need to have that constrained amount of punya or whatever, right? So if we don't have that punya, until that punya is accumulated, we would have never know whether it will be accumulated in this janma or next janma. We don't know. So till that time, we have to wait, right? Sometimes it may happen in next janma or whenever. Okay, so some may come in the future janmas. So since you had that desire, Krishna sanctions. Okay, then you will have to take birth again. But Krishna says, if you don't have any interest in the fruits of action, then no janma is required. So you have no expectations. What is the need for you to take birth again? You can go back directly to Godhead, right? If you have no material desires at all, what is the reason for you to come back and take birth? What is the purpose? So you can happily, by practicing devotional service, since you have no desires, you will happily be serving Krishna, and at the end of your life, you think of Krishna and you go back to Krishna. Okay, so we all know that Arjuna had no interest in the kingdom, but still, in the end, what happened? He fought the battle. Why? Because Krishna wanted it. So Arjuna did it, even though he didn't like it, but still, to please Krishna, he did it. So this is Buddhi Yoga, without any expectation, just to please Krishna. We just do our duties. That's all. So this is Buddhi Yoga. So now Krishna is telling Arjuna, that's why you fight. So you fight, you just fight. You are thinking about the result of the war. So that is why you're taking to so much tension. Okay, your mind has become disturbed. So you don't think about that. So you don't think about the result. So you don't get attached to the result. Just do your duty. So, like that, through Arjuna's example, Krishna is telling all of us also. So, we all also have our duties. Okay, so we all have to do our duties like how Arjuna is doing. Why? Only reason to satisfy the Lord. So, if we work with such consciousness, we will not be bound in karma. Then our mind will be steady. Our mind will see, when we are attached to the result, our mind will be disturbed by, see, because you're doing that work with some expectation. See, suppose you are studying and you wanted 80% in your, with the expectation that I should at least get 80%. But if you don't get 80% and you get only 60%, then you're disturbed, right? So, but if you, I mean, like, don't expect anything, but just give your 100% hard work. You work, you read everything thoroughly, you do everything thoroughly. So you are not expecting, as your duty you have done, you've given your 100% without any expectation. Then you are open to the result, whatever be the result, because you know that you have given your 100%, and you know that nothing is in my hands after that. So you won't be disturbed even if you get 80, 60, 70, how much. But you know that you have given your 100%, and Krishna also knows that. So that is important, right? Then you won't be disturbed how much ever you get, because you have done your part. Your 100% you have given, and that you know and Krishna knows, right? So that is important. So next, let's go to the 48th shloka. So here, Krishna is saying, perform your duty. Is that the complete shloka? Just let me. That is complete. So here Krishna is telling Arjuna, perform your duty equipoised, abandoning all attachment to success or failure. Such equanimity is called yoga. Okay, so what Krishna is telling Arjuna, you do your duty, your karma you do. Okay, leave attachment to the results. Whether you win or lose, success or failure, don't think about the result. So you see both equally on the same plane. Okay, when you see both are equal and perform your duty, that is called yoga. So we leave the result to Krishna. So in one line, if we have to tell about Nishkama Karma Yoga, what it means, do your best and leave the rest to God. That's all. Don't put any expectations. Just give your 100% in whatever you're doing. Give your 100% and leave the rest to Krishna. That's all. Okay? Be balanced, be equipoised. That's what they're saying. See, if you don't do it with any expectation and you get the satisfaction, even though you failed, you have the satisfaction that I have given my full 100%. See, even if I have given my 100%, I'm not getting it, then you won't be depressed or distressed because you have given your 100%, right? So then you'll understand maybe, yeah, for my karma, maybe I'm not distant, but I've given my 100%. Even then I failed. It means that maybe it is not there. You understand that it is not maybe in my karma, or maybe Krishna doesn't want this. Krishna has a better plan for me. So we understand like that. Okay. So now let's go to the 49th shloka. दूरेण हि अवरं कर्म बुद्धियोगात् धनञ्जय बुद्धौ शरणम् अन्विच्छ कृपणा फलहेतवः. So let's see the purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. O Dhananjaya, keep all abominable activities far distant by devotional service, and in that consciousness surrender unto the Lord. Those who want to enjoy the fruits of their work are misers. So now what Krishna is telling, whoever does work with the expectation of results, he is called a miser or a kripana. Okay, so a kripana is a person who is interested in sense gratification. Okay, he is always interested in his satisfying his senses. Haribol, Hare Krishna, can all of you please mute? I can hear some voices. If you don't mind. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah. A person, he's a kripana or a miserly person, he's always interested in doing things for himself. See, I'll just try to give you an example. See, all this Krishna consciousness is a matter of consciousness. See, there are two persons. One person, they both of them go to the same, what do you say? You have these thelawalas, right? There's a fruit seller selling mangoes on a cart. So two persons come there and they buy mangoes. One person is thinking in his mind, oh wow, such ripe mangoes, they must be so sweet. Immediately I should buy them, go home and eat them. Okay, this is one person's consciousness. The other person also comes to that cart of mangoes. He thinks in his mind, wow, these mangoes are so ripe and sweet. I think I'm sure Krishna will love them. So I'll offer them to Krishna first and then I will have them. See, outward it may look like both are buying mangoes, but their consciousness is different. Right? One is thinking about pleasing Krishna, one is thinking about pleasing himself. See, that is what is Krishna. See, even Vrindavan also, people many times think that you literally, I mean, you have to go. If there is an opportunity to go to the pilgrimage places like Vrindavan, you definitely, you have the finance and everything you have, you must go. But in case you're not able to go because of some reason or something, Vrindavan is also a consciousness. The main thing is, though you're in your own place here somewhere, in your own city, but still, if your mind is in Vrindavan, see, last month we just finished our Kartik, right? Most of us, those who could not go to Vrindavan for the Kartik Parikrama, they can have that effect of that Vrindavan by sitting here itself. You could have heard online to the Kartik Parikrama speeches, then thinking about those places through the speeches, you're in Vrindavan. It's like you're there, literally along with that Kartik Parikrama Yatra. So Vrindavan is nothing but it's a consciousness. Okay, and alternatively, there may be people who are in Vrindavan, but they are thinking, what is going on here? Oh, my job. What are my children doing? I hope they are studying properly. Oh, what is? I mean, like my job. I hope it is set. There, my have handed over this to my colleague. Hopefully, he's doing. Then that is also of no use. Physically, you're in Vrindavan, but your mind is always here. So that means you're not in Vrindavan. Right, so that's why Krishna is saying. So Kripana is a person. Basically, it is all about consciousness. Krishna, he's there as Paramatma. He knows our consciousness. He knows what we intend. It is not the outward thing that Krishna sees. Krishna sees our heart and mind, what we are thinking, not our outward things. He always sees the inside of us, what we are thinking inside. Right. And many people, they do all these wrong activities and they think, oh, nobody saw. Nice. I escaped. You can escape here, but you cannot escape in the hands of Krishna. You cannot escape from him at all. He is there as Paramatma in your heart. He's always observing everything. You may be able to escape the laws of this material nature, but Krishna, you can never escape. Right? So you have to be very careful. Okay, so here Krishna is saying, so a Kripana is a person who is interested in his own sense gratification and he lives like cats and dogs, right? See, we say you're dead like a dog or a cat. You see, we see many times that animals, these poor animals, they are, because they have nobody to take care, they automatically they are dead on the road. Dogs, many times we see, right? Dogs and cats, right? See, there's and they live like cats and dogs with no meaning. So what do these animals do generally? Four things they do. What do they do? Eat. Animals eat, mate, sleep, defend. So the human being is also behaving like an animal. He's doing the same things that cats and dogs are doing. They are doing sense gratification. We are also doing sense gratification. So what is the big difference? Then what is the use of this human janma? It's better we be animals, right? We can get even more sense gratification. Right. So that's what Krishna is saying. See, these people are interested in. See, all these janmas we've been doing only sense gratification. All these janmas still we get this human janma. We're still continuing the same thing. We want to eat. Maybe we eat with the posh forks and spoons and knives and everything. Maybe we sleep on Dunlop beds, comfy beds and everything, very comfortable beds. Maybe we live in a bungalow or a big palace. Doesn't make a difference. Wherever it is, we have a house to stay. The dog has a house to stay. It has also a place to stay. We sleep on beds. The bed, in fact, the dog, though it sleeps on the street, it sleeps much better than us. So in any ways, if you see, it's we're doing the same thing, but this rare human janma is got not to do sense gratification. We've got this to do tapasya. So we have to do some austerity. Okay, this is the only chance for us to get out of this human life, to get out of this material planet, which is full of miseries. Do you want old age? Does anybody want like us like old age? Does anybody want disease? Right? So it's so painful, old age, so painful, so many problems. Disease, when disease comes, you can't do nothing. So painful. Do you like to be dictated by somebody? You do like this only. Your boss says you have to complete this work and then only go. Your parents dictate you. Your husband dictates you. Your wife dictates you. Sometimes children, like that. You like all that? No, right? So we don't want all that. We don't want all these troubles, miseries, everything. So we want to get out, and this human life is a good chance for that. We can question ourselves, Arey, why am I getting all these miseries? I don't like old age. Why am I getting it? I don't like disease. Why am I getting it? So you can ask, I mean, like, who is God? Who am I? What is my relationship with God? Why am I suffering here? So you get all the answers to all these questions through the Bhagavad Gita, and you can understand the Bhagavad Gita only in the human life. But if we just waste this human life like cats and dogs, just eating, sleeping, and just going to parties and just roaming about, going to international places, and I mean, like going to restaurants and eating, cinemas, reading all these magazines, cinema magazines, and watching TV serials, all these programs, and you waste your valuable human life in all such things. Where is the time for spirituality? How will you get out of this miserable condition? Right, so we have to think. So now that's why Krishna is saying that don't be a Kripana Arjuna. So a Kripana here means who is so much interested in sense gratification, and he lives like cats and dogs. So Krishna is telling Arjuna, you don't be like a Kripana. Okay, you follow Buddhi Yoga. You take shelter of the Lord. Okay, so this is 49. Let's go to the next shloka. So, in shloka number 50, let's see the translation. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. A man engaged in devotional service rids himself of both good and bad reactions, even in this life. Therefore, strive for yoga, which is the art of all work. So, in Karma Kanda, previously we studied shlokas, right? 31 to 37. In Karma Kanda, when we can see immediate result, right? When we perform some yajna or whatever sacrifice, we see immediate result. When we pray to the demigods, see, I want a job. So, immediately we see some differences. So, we get some inspiration when we do Karma Kanda. But in Buddhi Yoga, what is the inspiration for us? See, in Karma Kanda, we see the result. But now in Buddhi Yoga, we don't see the result because we are not supposed to expect the result. Then what is the inspiration for us to do our duty? Okay, so Krishna is saying by doing Buddhi Yoga, what happens? You don't get punya or papa. See, if you expect something, there is some outcome, right? It could be bad or good. So it could be you could get bad karma or bad good karma. But if you don't expect anything, where is the question of punya or papa? No punya or papa. Okay, so you will become akarma. So your punya and papa will become zero. So if you do all your duties without any expectation of result, there is no punya or papa, right? So both will become zero. Akarma, no karma. So actually, Srila Prabhupada says that they do so many activities for Krishna every day, but no karma binds us, Prabhupada says. See, Prabhupada, right from morning till night, he'll be continuously doing Krishna conscious activities. So that's why Prabhupada is saying karma doesn't bind us because we work for Krishna. We do our work to please Krishna. So karma doesn't bind us. So this should be our art of working. This is how we should work. Okay, without any expectation of result, if you do, karma is not there. No bad or good reactions. Okay, so you can do all work for Krishna, but you're not yet bound in any karmic reaction. Okay, and we will get liberation and go back to Godhead. Right? See, if we have some bad or good karma, then you are forced to take birth in this material world. To enjoy or suffer those reactions, you have to take birth. But if you have zero karma, what is the need for you to come back here? No reason for you to come back. So you get liberated and you go back to Godhead. So here in the shloka, they are saying the first benefit of Buddhi Yoga. So now Krishna is giving the benefits of following Buddhi Yoga. See, in Karma Kanda, we said, right, we do with some expectation of result. So we can see the result. So for that, we will work hard and we'll do. But what is the inspiration for Buddhi Yoga? So that's what Krishna is telling here. If you do things in Buddhi Yoga, the first thing is what will happen? The first benefit of Buddhi Yoga is zero papa, zero punya. So no reactions. Okay, that is the first reason. Now let's see what's the second reason Krishna gives. See, second reason what he's saying, by thus engaging in devotional service to the Lord, great sages or devotees free themselves from the results of work in the material world. Right? In this way, they become free from the cycle of birth and death and attain the state beyond all miseries by going back to Godhead. So, what is the second benefit Krishna is saying? We will be liberated from the cycle of birth and death. Right? If you go back to Godhead, we are free from the cycle of birth and death, right? If you go back to Goloka Vrindavan or Vaikunta, there is no reason for you to come back again to this material world, right? So, that is the second advantage. Second benefit. Okay, so this place that we are staying is a place of kuntha. It is kuntha means full of miseries. If we go to Vaikunta, Vaikunta means a place where there are no miseries. Right? If we go there, there is no coming back, no looking back at all. So we get liberated from this place by, that is the second benefit, by following Buddhi Yoga. Now let's see what's the third benefit Krishna gives. So third is like Shloka 52 is not given here. Let me just yeah. So translation Prabhupada gives, when your intelligence has passed out of the dense forest of delusion. Oh, I think it's given in the next page here. Here. Yeah. This is the 52nd thing. It's given long after. So let's see this. When your intelligence has passed out of the dense forest of delusion, you shall become indifferent to all that has been heard and all that is to be heard. Okay, so here they're talking about the Vedic rituals. So the third benefit is when you follow Buddhi Yoga, you become indifferent to the rituals of the Vedas, that is Karma Kanda. Okay, so you don't have to do any Karma Kanda because we earlier we said, right, if we do a devotional service to Krishna, it is like we have satisfied everybody, all the demigods, all our forefathers, all everybody, all our gurus, acharyas, everything. Because from the acharyas like Veda Vyas and all, we receive knowledge from our parents and everybody. We have taken birth and lot of they have taken so much pains and struggles to bring us up. And the demigods, because they provide us sunlight, moon, everything, water, air. So we are indebted to all of them. But by just doing devotional service to Krishna, all are satisfied. So we don't have to separately do karma kanda or something. We need not think that, oh, we are missing out on something. Oh, I'm not doing this sacrifice, this charity, this social activity, this annadana, this old age home contribution. You don't have to worry about that. If you just do devotional service to Krishna, everything is taken care of. So that's why we don't worry about karma kanda at all. So we become indifferent to the rituals of the Vedas, karma kanda. So now, see how many karma kandas we saw, right? How many karma kandas can we do? In the Vedas, there are so many karma rituals that you can do. How many can you do? Can we do all? No, right? A simple solution Krishna is giving. You don't have to do all those. Just do my devotional service. Everything is taken care of. It's like if you just plant, water the root, that's enough. The whole tree is flourished. You don't have to separately water the trunk, the branch, the leaf, the twig. Not required. Just water the root. Over. The tree grows. The plant grows. So that is what he said. You don't have to worry about. Third benefit is you don't have to do all these karma kandas and everything. Okay. So now let's see what is the last benefit Krishna says. See, 53. When your mind is no longer disturbed by the flowery language of the Vedas, and when it remains fixed in the trance of self realization, then you will have attained the divine consciousness. So, last benefit of Buddhi Yoga is what Krishna is saying, your mind will be steady in Krishna consciousness and you will not be disturbed by karma kanda. So you won't be worried. Oh, I didn't do this Vedic ritual. How will I go to heavenly planets? Will I go to higher planets? Hurry, I didn't do this social activity or this charity or this annadana. Oh, what will happen? So you don't have to think about all this. Now your mind is away from this now. You are focused totally on Krishna consciousness. Okay, your mind will not be disturbed. You understand that karma kanda I don't have to do. If I just do devotional service to Krishna, that is enough. So that's why your mind will be just steady. It will be focused. Now you have only one goal, to please Krishna. So you're not worried about anything karma kanda or any material thing, sense gratification, nothing. So you will be steady in your Krishna consciousness. One pointed focus you will have, one goal you will have. Okay. So that stage is called samadhi. Now you understand that your goal is to please Krishna, to do devotional service to Krishna. So you will be in that samadhi. You will not be worried, oh, I didn't do this karma kanda, oh, I didn't do that material, oh, that I didn't do for. So you are not worried about sense gratification, your sense gratification. You are so much worried about satisfying the senses of Krishna or pleasing Krishna. Okay. So such a state is called you are in samadhi. Okay, so now we see that now Krishna, he has answered all the 5 reasons of Arjuna. So Arjuna gives 5 reasons for not fighting, right? So all those 5 reasons are now answered by Krishna. But after hearing all this from Krishna, Arjuna is wondering, you are saying all these reasons, right? Nishkama Karma Yoga and all this. Is there any person, Arjuna is wondering, has anybody reached the stage of performing Nishkama Karma Yoga? He's asking, like, we'll see, I mean, in the next shloka, he is going to ask the characteristics of such a person. So, such a person is called Sthita Prajna. So, he asks, how is that person, like, who has attained that stage? How does he look? How is he? Okay, so before that, we'll just see the overall things, I mean, like the benefits of acting in Buddhi Yoga. See, we saw, right? Freedom from good and bad reactions. Because zero karma, right? When you follow Nishkama Karma Yoga, you have no reactions. You're doing it just to please Krishna without any expectation. So you don't have any karma. So freedom from good and bad reactions. And because of which you are freed from the cycle of birth and death. Because you go back to Godhead, right? So you don't come back. So you're freed from, you get liberated and you are free from the cycle of birth and death. And you are no longer interested in karma kanda. You are indifferent to Vedic rituals. Because if you just do devotional service to Krishna, everything is taken care of. I don't have to separately do all these Vedic rituals, karma kanda, everything. Okay. Now, realization of relationship with Krishna as eternal servitor. So you understand that you are your Swarupa. You were created by God. Why? To serve Him, to please Him. So you understand your eternal relationship with Krishna. What is our natural Swarupa? Swarupa of the soul. Jivera Swarupa hoy Krishnera Nityadas. Okay, so you revive your relationship, you understand your relationship with Krishna, and you start trying to please Him, serve Him by doing devotional service. So you're no longer worried about karma kanda. So your mind is focused now. Your mind is steady now. You have only one goal, that is to please Krishna, to do everything for the satisfaction of Krishna. That stage is called Samadhi stage. And last, obviously, we go back to Godhead. When we practice Krishna consciousness, what happens? At the end of our life, we are doing everything for Krishna. So obviously we'll remember Krishna at the time when we leave our body. So when we remember Krishna, what happens? We obviously go back to Godhead, go back to Krishna, right? So these are the benefits of doing acting in Buddhi Yoga. Okay, this completes the um, 5 reasons, and 5 reasons like why Arjuna didn't want to fight and why Krishna is telling Arjuna to fight. So okay, now we'll see Sthita Pragna. Krishna is telling fight and become fixed in Krishna consciousness. So Arjuna is asking, like, is there a person who has done all this? Because generally it is difficult for us, right, to just do our duty without any expectation of result. At least in our mind we'll be thinking, but outwardly, even though we say I am not expecting the result, but still in our mind we have that thing that we expect the result, right? At least I'm expecting this much. So we still have that. So we are not yet on that stage. So Arjuna is asking here, that Sthita Pragna, that person who is in Nishkama Karma Yoga stage, he is called as Sthita Pragna. Okay, is there somebody who has come to the stage? What are the qualities of such a person? He's asking. So let's see what. So here Arjuna is asking Krishna, Sthita Pragnasya ka bhasha samadhistasya keshava Sthita dih kim prabhasheta kim asita vrajeta kim. Okay, so he's asking Kim. So Arjuna said, oh Krishna, what are the symptoms of those of one whose consciousness is thus merged in transcendence? How does he speak? And what is his language? How does he sit? And how does he walk? So he's asking, what are the so Arjuna is asking Krishna these questions. Okay, how do these people look? What are their qualities? How to recognize them? How do they walk? How do they sit? How do they talk? How do they behave? Okay, so he's asking, how does a Sthita Pragna look? Okay, so we'll see what in the next coming shlokas, we'll see the symptoms of a Sthita Pragna, right? And how does he, how his speech is, how does he talk, how he sits, and how he walks. In the coming shlokas, we'll see. So this we saw, right? What are the features and characteristics of Buddhi Yoga? So you can, when I give the PPT, you can just refer them. It's the same thing. Freedom from cycle, freedom from karma bandhanam, safe from the greatest danger, no loss, and resolute determination, freedom from good and bad reactions, freedom from cycle of birth and death. So indifference to Vedic rituals or karma kanda, realization of the relationship with Supreme Personality of Godhead, and finally it's return home to back Godhead. So we saw this. Now this is just a pictorial view. The same thing they are giving, the symptoms, how does he speak language, with what shlokas. So now let's see here from shloka number 55. Okay. So translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Okay. So the blessed Lord said, O Partha, when a man gives up all varieties of sense desire which arise from mental concoction, and when his mind finds satisfaction in the self alone, then he is said to be in pure transcendental consciousness. Okay, so this is a symptom of a sthita prajna. How does a sthita prajna look? See, he is always enjoying in himself. He understands that he is not this body, he is the soul. And what does the soul always do? Please Krishna. So he's always chanting the names of the Lord. He's always thinking about the Lord. He's always thinking what to do so that I can please the Lord. So you can see in the picture above, right? Prabhupada, he is this is the photo of Prabhupada sitting in the Radha Damodar temple in Vrindavan. Okay, there he is while having his prasadam outside his window. You can see there's a window, right? He can see the Rupa Goswami Samadhi there. So he's always, even while eating, he's thinking, oh, my Guru Maharaj, he told me, go to the West and preach. How will I be able to do it? Please, Rupa Goswami. We are all Rupanugas, right? We belong to this. We are the followers of Rupa Goswami, so we are called Rupanugas. So that's why Prabhupada is praying to Rupa Goswami. So he's looking at a samadhi from the window. Rupa Goswami's samadhi is there. So he's crying, and he's in his mind he's saying, "Please bless me, oh spiritual, oh master. I'm not understanding how I can do it. Please make me an instrument in your hands. Please let me fulfill my Guru Maharaj's wish. How can I do this mission myself? Please guide me. Please throw some light. How is it possible for a meager person like me? How can I do it? Please give me strength." So he's praying all that every day. In the night, Prabhupada, he used to sweep that samadhi in the night at 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock. He used to cry loudly, and then he sweeps that samadhi. He keeps praying to Rupa Goswami, "Please show me a way. I'm not knowing. I feel so bad. I'm not able to do anything for my spiritual master." They used to keep crying um, like that. So how do we know that Prabhupada was crying like this? Because there was one Babaji who used to hear some crying voices every day. He, out of curiosity, one day he saw from the wall. Then he saw Prabhupada crying. Then he understood the reason. He was chanting the names and he was crying. So he can understand, like, he's such a pure devotee. And then later, when the American disciples come back, then he tells his disciples, "Yeah, I met your Guru Maharaj. He was crying in tears like this, whether I'll be able to fulfill the mission of my Guru Maharaj. But now he's successful. He has shown that he's able to do it." So a Sthitaprajna is a person who's always is not thinking about himself, though it may look in the picture that he's nicely having prasadam. See, they're always he's looking outside and he's thinking. See, what even while eating, talking, sleeping, they're always thinking of Krishna, how to please Krishna. They don't think about themselves. See, Prabhupada is 70 at 70, 75 at that time. See, and nowadays, if you see people getting retired at 50, 60, and they happily want to enjoy playing golf or kitty parties or get togethers, and they do want to do all these, go travel to international places, they want to do all these things. But Prabhupada, for all of us, at the ripe age of 70, when happily he would be there itself in Vrindavan, and he could do his bhakti and go back to Godhead. But what was the necessity for him to go to a Mlecha Desha like America? For all of us, he went there, he preached Krishna consciousness there, and then he came back here. So many struggles he faced. If you read Prabhupada's Leelamrita, you will be in tears. See, Prabhupada struggled so much to give us all to preach Krishna consciousness. In fact, he was selling his own books, wherein one time he just fell down. He fainted in that hot sun. He fainted and fell down on the road. He was giving the magazines for free, but then nobody was willing to take because we were so materialistic. We were so much in sense gratification, but nobody wanted to take spirituality. He was giving the Back to Godhead magazine free. Please read, please read, please read. He was in that hot sun, he was asking everybody, but nobody said, "Are Swamiji, who will read this book now? Nobody will read. Why are you wasting your time?" The people used to say like that. But still, even when he was going from here to America, he suffered in that Jaladuta ship, cargo ship, he suffered 2 heart attacks. If someone like us were going in that ship and we have 2 heart attacks, what would we say? "See, Krishna, see, you, because you said I have to go to the West, I am going. Now I have 2 heart attacks. You saw it, I tried. Now I can't take more. I will come back now. I tried because you said." That is what we would think, and we would come back. But Prabhupada, he still had that faith that his Guru will help him, Krishna will help him. He said, please, Krishna, I don't know. Somehow or the other, you brought me here. Now it is your duty. I am a puppet in your hands. Please make me dance however you want to. Please use me. I don't know what I will do. You have made me come till here. And in the future also you have to only drive me. I don't know. I'm just a puppet in your hands. And still he went. He proceeded further. So much he struggled for all of us. There he went. There was nobody to take him, receive him. He just had 40 rupees. See, going to America with just 40 rupees. Can you just imagine that? No proper clothes, nothing to eat, no place to stay, no money. See, he took so much trouble for all of us. Imagine the pain. But only to satisfy his spiritual master, he did all this. He was always thinking. So, a Sthita Prajna is like that. He's always thinking about the Krishna. He's not thinking about himself, sense gratification. See, even in the below picture also, you see Prahlad Maharaj, he is the son of a king, Hiranyakashipu, such a powerful king. He had all the wealth, riches, comforts. See, when all these people were troubling him, he could have said, oh my God, these people are troubling me. My father is the king. Why don't I leave all this and I'll go and happily enjoy, surrender to my father? I'll happily enjoy. He didn't think, right? He could have got so much sense gratification because he's the son of a king. But he was so happy all by himself. He in his childhood also, he never used to go out and play with his friends. He always used to sit in a corner and he was just chanting the names of Krishna. Narayana, 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 he used to chant. What does this mean? He's finding happiness in the holy names. He never even used to blink his eye. See, somebody is trying to slap us. Even before slapping, we close our eyes, right? We get that reaction. But Prahlad Maharaj, whether see he was put in fire or he was put in a pit of snakes, or he was being pierced with all those trishul and everything, he never even blinked. He was just like peaceful. He had full faith in Krishna or Narayana, and he was just always chanting the names and always peaceful. I mean, this is like a very high stage for us. But since Arjuna is asking Krishna, Sthita Prajna, the qualities, symptoms, we are learning about. At least we should know, right, what stage we should come to. Generally, our pure devotees are in that stage. They don't worry about their bodily pains or everything. They are situated on that soul platform. So they have full faith on Krishna. Krishna will protect. Krishna will take care. They have that full dependence. But who do we depend on? We depend on Maya. We depend on, we say that my husband will help, my friends will help, my relatives will help. We think like that. One fine day when we go bankrupt, when we go to our relatives, nobody will even see our face. And in fact, they will hide. Oh, if this person comes, he will ask me money. It's better I stay far from him. Those are the kind of people we find in this material world. But even in that time, who is there with us? Krishna is there with us. Right? So we always have to depend on Krishna. Okay, so here the symptoms of Sthita Prajna are being told. So he has no desire for any variety of sense gratification. Okay, even in his mind, he does not have he have that thought of sense gratification. He does not want anything for himself. Even in his mind, that thought doesn't come. Okay, so when the mind is thus purified, he finds satisfaction in the self alone. Okay, so Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport how he is satisfied. Okay, so he understands he is not Atma. I'm sorry, he's Atma and he's not this body. So he understands I am part of Krishna. Okay, he understands we all are actually still on the bodily platform. We still, even after coming to Krishna consciousness, we take care so much of our body. We want to get the best of the shampoos, best of soaps for our body, best of cosmetics for our face, best of black dye for our hair, best of everything we want. Still, we are in the, if, though we know that we are soul, our Swarupa, we are not this body, we are the soul, but still we are on that bodily platform. But this Sthita Prajna, he understands, he knows that he is not this body and he is the soul. Okay, so he understands that my Swarupa is Jivera Swarupa Hoy Krishnera Nitya Das. I am the servant of the Lord. Okay, that he understands. So, with that concept, he leads his life. So, that is why his Atma soul is, spirit soul is satisfied. So, such a person is called Sthita Prajna. So, next shloka we'll see how they behave. So, next shloka is speech, how he talks. Okay. So, let's see the translation. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. So, one who is not disturbed in mind, even amidst the threefold miseries, or elated when there is happiness, and who is free from attachment, fear, and anger, is called a sage of steady mind. Okay, so here they are saying that he is not disturbed even in mind amongst the miseries. How are we? If a small misery comes, if a small mosquito comes and bites, we create a big problem out of that. We are not satisfied until we kill that mosquito. We bring the bat, we do this, we do that, we light coils, we put all out, we do all this. So much hangama we do. Okay, but Sthita Prajna, he is not disturbed in mind even amongst the highest of miseries. He is not elated when there is happiness. We jump up, right? Yahoo! We jump up when we are happy, right? If we get something which is beyond our expectation, we jump. Suppose we are expecting 80% in our exam and we get 90%. What do? We jump into the air. We get so happy. So we are. He is not elated like that when there is happiness. Like he is like equipoised. He is stable, right? So that's what Prabhupada says. See, common man, when he gets misery, he goes into depression. You see in the picture, right? They go into depression. So he doesn't feel like doing anything. We see this, right? Mood swings, mood off. They'll say, right, my mood is off today, like that. So a Sthita Prajna is not like that. So even if he gets misery, he is stable. His mind is never disturbed. So similarly, when he gets happiness also, he is not like flying or jumping in the air. He's not too excited. He's not over enthusiastic. So we may think, okay, how come he is not elated when there is happiness? Okay, distress comes, okay, that is okay. No, everybody is depressed. But if happiness comes, generally we can't just control, right? We try to express our happiness, right? Yes, he is also happy, but he is always happy forever. He is always satisfied. Even in the distress condition, also he is satisfied. So he is always happy. Okay, so Krishna is telling Arjuna, you also become like this. Okay, don't get disturbed. So, how can we stay undisturbed in happiness and sadness? How can we stay undisturbed? So, Krishna is telling, when we know that they are temporary, we know the every situation coming in this material world will just pass, because just like the seasons, right? Once you get summer, you get a rainy season. I mean, a rainy or whatever that order is, summer. Then you get, and then when that is over, winter. Winter is over, rainy season, rainy, then spring. So like that, they will pass by. All these seasons just won't stand by, right? So like that, When you get difficulties, difficulties will come, that will pass. Then again you will get happiness, that will also pass. Again you will get distress, that will also pass. So they will come and go. So they don't stay for a long time. So Sthita Prajna, he has that knowledge. He can understand this misery is not permanent. Okay, it's not permanent. This too will pass. So he understands that this misery is the result of my bad karma, and he tolerates it. See, if somebody slaps him, he doesn't retaliate by slapping him again. He understands, okay, he is at that high stage, okay, we are not maybe that stage, we'll give one more thappad. In fact, we'll give two. Right? But as Sthita Prajna, he understands, oh, maybe I must have done some mistake in my previous Janma, or in this Janma itself, unknowingly, I must have slapped somebody. So that reaction is coming back to me now. He is just being an instrument in that. So he's taking away my karma, bad karma. So he gave me one slap, that karma is gone now. And he tolerates it. Okay, so another thing, the miseries are actually for whom? For what? For the body, and it is not for the soul. Soul is what? Sachidananda Swarupa, right? It's always blissful. But so the miseries are only, the painful situation is only for the body. Okay, so because it's the body, right, that undergoes changes. Soul never undergoes any changes. It is eternal, permanent, right? So only the miseries are for the body and not for the soul. And now he understands, he knows that he is on the platform of soul. Okay, so he remains undisturbed. Okay, so when happiness comes, he thinks this too is given by God, or he thinks that because of my karma, I got this happiness. So he accepts that happiness, but he's not overjoyed by that. Okay, because he knows that he is not the only cause for that. Whether he gets, when he gets that happiness, he knows that it is not only because he is the reason. He knows it is also because of the mercy of the Lord. Okay, so he accepts everything as the mercy of the Lord. Okay, so there is no difference between sukha and dukkha for him. So he does not have any fear. Okay, so he is because he's not afraid of anything, because he's on the platform of the soul. So he knows nothing can happen to the soul, right? You can't stab the soul, you can't burn the soul, you can't do anything to the soul. With weapons, you can't kill, nothing. You can't do it because soul is eternal. So he has no fear because he's on the platform of soul. So he knows nothing can happen to the soul. So he is not attached to anything material. He does not have anger. And even when his attempts are unsuccessful, he's not angry. See, when we do business and we get a loss, immediately we get depressed. Okay, because our attempts are failure now, we get angry, we get frustrated, we get all these emotions. Right? But Sthita Prajna, even when his attempts are unsuccessful, he is not angry because he knows he has given his 100%. He's not dependent on the result. So even if it is a failure, he's not worried. He knows that he has done his best. So he does not get angry. See, success or no success, he is always steady in his determination. Okay. So shall we stop here, Mataji, or should we continue?
As you wish, Mataji. Mataji, one question can I ask?
Or else we'll do one thing. Mataji, we'll just stop for today and we'll take that question, Mataji. 1 second. Huh?
Okay, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
sure, sure.